3, 2, 1, action.
Morning, ladies and gentlemen. Today we are going to look at how the brain functions in relation to our behaviors. So this is just the introduction, then we'll do the other topics later. You have a picture in front of you. Lee, please may you sit there for me. You have 9 dots in front of you. I'll give you 1 minute to connect those dots using only 4 lines without lifting your marker. Join the dots, all of them, using 4 lines without lifting your pen. There's 1 dot left. How many lines are there?
No, there's more than 4. So
there are more lines than 4, and
4
there's
lines,
1 dot left, 2 dots left. So why did you think of a square? Why did you limit yourselves to a square?
because you normally, so when you see dots that need to be joined, you don't want to stop until they all are linked or interlinked.
But why did you think of a square? Is it because they are arranged in a square, so you thought of that? Or in your mind, that is what clicked, that
Yeah.
this is the shape
4
of a
lines,
square.
square.
But you were allowed to go out of that and use lines that go across as well. So people use that for thinking outside the box, but the thing is, your brain is so much used to shape. So when you see that arrangement in your mind, what clicks is the shape of the square. That's why you ended up doing that. Let's see how that comes back. So the brain is actually divided into 3 main parts. It's called the triune brain, and you have the neocortex part, which is where you think, all the senses and everything that you see, you hear, all the things that you were told, they are stored in there, and there is the conscious and the subconscious all in that part of the brain. And as you can see, there's reasoning, analysis, your logic happens on the cortex or the neocortex part of the brain. And then you have the middle brain, which is called the limbic complex. That is where you have your emotions, love, fear, feelings, and that's where those ones are on the limbic brain, and it's sort of on the inner side. So the bulk of the brain, the bigger part of the brain, is the neocortex. And then you have the old brain, which is called the other complex, or it can also be referred to as the reptile brain, because it's the lizard brain or the reptile. So it only controls the involuntary actions like breathing, blood circulation. So it doesn't have to use logic. Those occur automatically. So it's the old brain per se. So in this, I'm going to talk more about what happens in there and how the information is transmitted in order for us to get all the emotions and interpreting that diagram, for example. So from birth, the brain develops before birth, and from birth, brain continues to develop. So as you hear stuff, as you see stuff when you are born, that stuff is interpreted by the brain and it is stored. So even the emotions, remember, you are taught on how to feel, what feels good and what should feel bad. You are taught on what you should fear and what you should not fear at an early age. Remember, when you are a child and there's parents see an animal, they say "nunu" or things like that to say you should fear that, right? So that fear then gets stored and it becomes an emotion that is linked to that kind of sight. So the moment you see that kind of object, the impulse from outside, from the senses, is transmitted through to the limbic brain, through the neurons, which are the sort of the tubes or the transmitting tubes that transmit the impulse to the middle brain, where you then feel fear. And once you feel fear, this fear can actually stimulate even actions like crying, or you start screaming, any action that is linked to that kind of feeling, right? If it's love, you always smile when you feel loved. So those are the things. So, 10 minutes. So basically, I will then explain what happens in me relative to what you guys experienced. There is what is called the neuron. There is what is called the neuron. So the neurons are sort of transmitters. They are the ones that carry the impulse. So when you see something, the message is transmitted from your eyes through the neurons again into in form of electric impulses into those parts of the brain for interpretation, right? So this is where there is logic, where you use logic to say, okay, this 1 plus 1, then it becomes that. So you interpret whatever you are looking at, okay? So in the case of that, you saw that picture, and the impulse from your eyes went straight to the brain, to your memory, and it stimulated the stored memory of a square. And therefore, when I say joining 4 lines, the first thing you could think of is forming that shape. But I never spoke about shape. Okay, so that is what happens. So when you continuously do something, when your body continuously experiences, or you continuously experience something from outside, that experience is transmitted through the neurons to the different parts of the brain for different things. So there are numerous of these neurons in the brain itself, right? So what happens is that the more this stimulus is transmitted through a certain pathway, the thicker that pathway becomes. So the more you were told that that is a square on your grade R until now, then in your mind, that square pathway, that pathway which takes you to interpret it as a square, became wider and thicker, and this part insulates or protects these connecting tubules called neurons, and this is called the myelin sheath. So whenever, if you continuously use, just like a road, if you continuously use a road, it becomes smoother and becomes easy to travel through. So if you continuously see an object, this pathway becomes easier to use. So the moment you see it again, that is where the transmission goes. Okay. So it will be difficult for your brain to interpret this otherwise, because all along you've been interpreting it as a square. So the same applies to behaviors. If there's a certain thing that triggers a certain emotion, okay? If you see a child, when the child is born, you make the child maybe touch flame, right? For the child to feel the pain, and then you say it's hot, right? Mm. So that impulse is transmitted and is stored in the child's brain as well. So there are a lot of things that we get from our senses which then get stored, and what we normally do, we find that we always want to do it, and we end up developing into habit. It ends up developing into a habit, because you always do it, and your mind or your brain will always point you towards that direction. Anything which is counter that becomes difficult for you to do. No, this wasn't. This is not what I wanted to do. Leave out the last one.